It's time for another episode of Ignite That Light. Are you ready to discover the transformative power of simple acts of kindness? Join us on our next episode as we dive deep into the impact of acts of kindness. My special guest this time around is the amazing Acorns 2 Oaks 1, Onyx, aka Steph. Steph brings her unique perspective and inspiring stories, shedding light on how small gestures can create significant changes in our lives and communities. From heartwarming personal anecdotes to practical tips for incorporating kindness into your daily routine, this episode promises to be both uplifting and insightful. Don't miss out on this heartening conversation. Tune in Tuesday night to be inspired and learn how you can make a difference through the power of kindness. Join us on this journey to a kinder world, one act at a time, on the next episode of Ignite That Light. And we're live. Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of Ignite That Light, the podcast where our goal is to motivate, inspire, and connect more deeply with others. I am your host, Positively Chris. This is episode 5 of our second season, Keeping It Lit. Right, that's the name of that's our subtitle of this season. And the topic this time around is the impact of acts of kindness. I am joined tonight by a truly wonderful person. My guest for this episode is the wonderful, the amazing Steph, aka at Acorns 2 Oaks 1 on X. How are you doing, Steph, my friend? It's great to have you here tonight.
It's great to be here, Chris. Thank you so much for having me. I love your intro.
Yeah, did you see that? That's so cool,
yes,
right?
I'm so pumped. That was awesome.
The video package and the music, and it's all there. And who wouldn't be motivated to talk about kindness after that, right?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Now, I wanted to, before we dive into this, and I know we all have limited time here, limited bandwidth, so I'm just going to get right to it. But before we talk about this, I do want you to also give us a quick elevator speech about kind of before we dive into the kindness aspect, more about you, because I think people, they may not know who you are, right? I think your account it's still in its early stages. You have 1,100 followers, fantastic numbers there so far. You'll join us May 2023 on your account on X. Love to know more about you and kind of how you approach the platform.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. It's really great to be here. So I did join X in May of last year. So it's been 1 year of being an Xer or whatever we're called. But I really didn't get serious about content until a few months ago. And in deciding what kind of content I wanted to present, I was just a casual user of X for many months, just going on, searching for accounts that I might be interested in, reading the news and laughing a lot. And
same here.
So I wanted to, eventually I thought, why am I just consuming when I can be producing as well? And so I had started a YouTube channel.
Nice.
And the niche I was interested in is sharing quotes that are transformative, positive quotes with music and video. It's something, so my background, I was a teacher for many years. I have 2 teaching credentials. I taught K through 12. I've taught every grade.
Nice.
I was an English teacher in ninth through 12th grade. I taught a reading program. I worked for a county office teaching teachers a reading program. That was a big
Wow.
part of my life. And then I had my own children, and I didn't feel like I could give my school children and my home children everything they both needed.
Yeah.
So I stepped out of education, but you can leave the classroom. The, the teacher doesn't really leave the classroom, it just never goes away.
That's right. That's so true.
Yeah. So I'm constantly finding, down a rabbit hole where I'm somehow involved in speaking
Yeah,
or sharing or somehow getting teacher skills involved in my life.
for sure.
Yeah. So now my role in my personal life is raising kids. They're now
Yeah.
teenagers. I have a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old.
Oh, I bet those are fun times, right?
Oh boy, that never stops.
Oh yeah. I'm
Well,
sure it's
I think,
perfectly fine during the weekends, especially. I'm sure that you're just perfectly stress free during the weekend, right?
oh yeah, yeah, I leave work and there's nothing else to do. There are no dirty socks and gym bags and all
Clearly
that good
not.
stuff.
That's awesome.
I'm lucky though. I do have a lot of flexibility in my work schedule. I'm in real estate now, so
Nice.
I live in Southern California, and I sell homes, and
There you
I
go.
take care of my kids. And um, so in my um, teaching years
Yeah.
and my real estate years, I've been in real estate, I think, 8 years now. I have spoken with so many people, from children
Hmm.
to adolescents to adults. And we're here to talk about kindness
Yeah.
and the skill of kindness.
Hmm.
It's something, as a teacher and as an agent helping people sell and buy homes, it's something I've really had to become knowledgeable about, and practice and perfect. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
I'm very excited to share what I can from my perspective about um, the impacts, the transformative power of kindness.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that intro, Steph. That's great. And I don't know if you know this, but I grew up outside of Long Beach. So I'm from the
Oh,
Southern California area. I grew up there, spent the first 20 years of my life down there. So I'm totally familiar with that region. And I understand, I mean, if you can sell a few homes down there right about now in that part of California, I'm not gonna, pretend like I know all about how that all works, but I'm sure the commissions are okay because,
no,
it was pretty pricey when I was growing up there, and I can only
yeah,
imagine what it's like now.
yeah,
So
and
that's awesome.
I love to tell people though that it's very lucrative, but
Yeah.
real estate agents are like cockroaches. You turn on a light, we all scatter in the room. We're everywhere. So
Yes. There you
there's a
go.
lot of competition,
I bet.
um, but there's a lot of opportunity as well. So I've really
Absolutely.
enjoyed it, especially the flexibility, so that I can uh, give a lot of my time to my kids as well.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, I love that flexibility piece. That's a phenomenal again transition from I think the teaching world to real estate and being able to give yourself that schedule that you can where you can focus on the kids a little more. That's awesome. And again appreciate that. And going into the kindness, kind of transitioning to that conversation, as you said, um, I want to kind of level set here and define the topic. It's what we do here on the show is we talk about a variety of topics, and this is episode now what 15 at this point, so I'm pretty stoked that the fact that we even made it to this number and anything. I'm grateful for everyone and their support. And I do want to also shout out Ben posted a comment and he wants to say hi
yay!
to us. So there you go. He's
Yay!
excited for
Oh, that's
us.
so
Really good to
awesome.
see
Thank you,
him here.
Ben.
Appreciate him watching. And yeah, we want to like talk about every time we start these shows. I like to define what we're talking about, so that way we're more confident in terms of like we're talking about the same thing, And I looked up the definition of kindness online because I have my own personal one, and it's sort of relevant, or it's sort of, it ties into this. And what I found was, it says kindness is a type of behavior marked by acts of generosity, consideration, rendering assistance, or concern for others without expecting praise or reward in return. Now, before I ask you your thoughts on that definition, I also wanted to note that nowhere in that definition is the word weak or weakness.
Ooh,
But
yes.
wanted to kind of make sure that that's highlighted here as we kind of dive into this topic. But wanted to ask your thoughts on that definition. Acts of generosity, consideration, rendering assistance, concern for others without expecting praise or reward.
Yes. Yeah. That's a long,
It's a
there's
long
a lot
definition.
of, it's a lot it doesn't roll off the tongue.
No.
So in our goal here of um, giving people skills,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to create a definition for
Yeah.
yourself that it's like a mantra,
Mm-hmm.
so that definition it can be said in your mind, on your lips, in the mirror, wherever you need it. When you're starting to go into the red,
That's right.
that
That's
guy's
right.
starting to really tick me off, right? That you can
It's true.
easily roll your definition off your tongue. So um, for me, I love that it's kindness is an action,
It is.
and that's a really important piece of that definition to pull out and keep. So I put that one in my pocket
Mm-hmm.
because kindness is active. It doesn't have to be a big act. That's part of this is
Yeah.
simple acts. Kindness can be a smile. Kindness
Sure.
can be a nod of encouragement. It can be so subtle. It can be a lot bigger too. It can be grand, but it doesn't need to be. And I think the idea with kindness here is to make it something that is a constant practice, not just a big once a year gesture at a
Absolutely.
holiday. So having a definition that is easy to access is really important in my
Absolutely.
mind. So I love the golden rule. I love treat
Oh, yeah.
others as you want
You
to
want to
be
be treated.
treated.
Yeah.
How easy is that? I mean, that just there's boom, little capsule.
That's right.
Treat others as you want to be treated. I looked up a couple of quotes
Yeah.
about kindness and or mantras.
Yeah.
Kindness is love made visible.
Love that.
Oh, isn't
Love
that
made
just
visible.
gives me all the feels?
Yes. Love
um,
made visible. I'm gonna
isn't
write
that
that down.
pretty?
Yes.
Kindness is love made visible, and
Get a
that
new
is
t-shirt right there. That's what it's gonna go
right.
on. Yeah, it's amazing.
Right. Yeah. So I love that. Um, it could be parts of the definition at the
Mm-hmm.
times you need them. Um, kindness is a choice,
Yes.
just right there, just pulling that
Absolutely.
piece out. And when you're in a situation where, two roads diverging and you need to make a decision, if you have practiced saying kindness is a choice, if you have put that into practice in your daily life, making it into a mantra or something you say in the morning, you're more likely to pull that out when you need it.
Absolutely.
Especially if you write it down. Kind of going off on a tangent here, but
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
the science behind writing your intentions down. I'll come back to this later too if we get to.
It's fine. Yeah.
The power of the brain. I used to tell my students when they were writing and taking notes that the brain is connected to the arm and then therefore the pen. When you're taking your notes, it's going back up into the brain.
Oh yeah.
And there's a different level of retention, and it's proven.
Yes.
Science has proven that you're much more likely to remember and utilize what you write down. So
Oh yeah.
that's important too. So kindness is love made visible. I love that. Kindness is doing what you can, where you are, with what you have.
Mm,
I really like that too.
powerful. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so good, so good. There's I want to tie into what you just said a minute ago. It's about the like the handwritten piece of it, right? And there's a song called Handwritten by the Gaslight Anthem. And I know it's going on a tangent, but like what you said, it's like there's the idea that there's this. He talks about in here in the dark I cherish the moonlight. I'm in love with the way you're in love with the night, and it travels from heart to limb to pen. And that's just like a really powerful part of the song, and the idea of it like there from the brain to the limb
To
to
the
putting it on
pen.
paper, like all of that. And
Boom.
again,
That's awesome. I love
yeah,
that.
it's such a beautiful part of the song. It's the bridge of the song where like everything kind of comes together at the end. And to me, it just resonates with what you said. It's like, it's an action like you're doing, and when you get it on paper and you have this mantra here that kind of it's going to resonate, and it'll likely be something that you remember and reflect on going forward, and you're able to pull it out when you need it. And I think that's like as a useful tool, that's really powerful.
I love that so much. I'm glad you pulled that up. And now I will use that over and
Yeah,
over again.
yeah,
Brain
absolutely.
to limb to pin.
I love that,
Um,
and I hope more
and
people do that too.
I know. And tying that into in the song,
Yeah.
it's about an emotion, right? That emotion that's going boom in the writer or the lyricist's head
Yeah.
down the limb to the pen. It's like it
Hmm.
has to get out, whatever that emotion is. He's got to put it out there. And
Absolutely.
so when you're defining what kindness means to you, it's it, it's personal.
It
Use
is.
that personal emotion,
Hmm.
whatever within the realm of kindness really strikes your heart. And your definition could change with time. What I think of as kindness today
Yes.
might not resonate or be as effective for me a year from now. So that's something I want to talk about later too, is
Yeah. It's
setting
good
up a
stuff.
routine to go back to these things and redefine and hone in on um, why and what.
Yeah, I love the idea that it does have that flexible definition with time, and we can definitely come back to that shortly. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing your perspective on defining it, because that's important again as we think about that, and having multiple, I think, really, really beautiful definitions of kindness may help others as well. Like it doesn't have to be one set concrete thing. The fact that it's flexible and it really is a personal thing, I think that's important to remember. And I got a comment here from our good friend, the other Stephanie, asking if I can sing that song "Handwritten" by the Gaslight Anthem. I am no Brian
Oh,
Fallon. I don't know if you know who this band is or who the lead singer is, but
can that
it's
be our outro? We could have you singing it.
maybe I can interview him and ask him for the licensing rights to the song so I can play it once. But it's a good song. I recommend people do follow them. They're a bit like I think the lead singer does try to emulate Bruce Springsteen. So if you like Bruce Springsteen or the Boss, you will likely enjoy this person, this musician, because he does have that same kind of vibe. And it's again, I love all of the songs that he puts together, writes his own music. And I don't want to go too far off the tangent, but she's asking if this is pot sticking, or stirring a pot, and she might be stirring the pot, but that's okay. You're allowed to stir a pot.
Yes.
If you're commenting, that means you're paying attention. I appreciate people paying attention here. This is already a great start to the show and to this episode. And again, thank you to Steph for for just giving us a few things to reflect on. I did want to also, as we kind of move forward here, I wanted to kind of talk through, you talk about like the personal element, the personal emotion, the personal definition that's involved here. Let's talk about like a personal example. Can you think of maybe like a personal example of some act of kindness that you recently performed or happened to you? And here's the thing, like you said at the beginning, we kind of hinted at, it doesn't have to be something large, grand, sweeping, of that sort. It can be something extremely small. I'm kind of curious if you can think of an example. I'm putting you on the spot here, but if you can think of just a personal a story or an example of something that's happened in your life recently.
Yeah, I have one in particular that is it's a fresh one,
Okay.
and I want to share it because it is a small moment, but the after effect became exponential.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was a small act of kindness, but it touched many people, and will continue to touch many people.
Awesome.
So last year, my son was on the JV volleyball team. So
Okay.
bear with me because it's a mom story.
That's okay. You're allowed to share these stories. That's good. It's totally allowed.
It you'll see in the end. It makes sense with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, so last year he was on JV, and as a parent, you sit with the other parents, and that was a whole group of parents, the JV parents. This year he's on varsity
Okay.
volleyball, completely different set of parents. So early in the season, I a game was going on. I got there late. I was working. I got to the gym and I walked in, and it was that feeling like sometimes even as adults we can be projected back to feeling as if we're in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I walked into the gym. I'm looking at the bleachers, and I'm thinking, who am I going to sit with to cheer on our team? It's just such a little thing, right? As an
Yeah.
adult, it's like, oh, who cares? But I wanted to connect because as a human, I have the drive to connect. So my little girl self was thinking, oh, I don't feel comfortable just going up and asking anyone, can I sit by you?
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
lunchroom stuff right here. So,
Yeah. I get it.
so I went and sat by myself, and I was fine. Um, but the next game, I decided, okay, we're gonna put some big girl panties on, and we're gonna ask to sit by someone. So the next
Mm-hmm.
game, I know some of the parents, and one of the boys, his grandmother was at the game, and I've known her for a long time. So I asked if I could sit by her, and of course she said yes. She's very kind.
Mm-hmm.
She creates a safe space, lots of smiles. She's always so cordial. Um, so immediately I had my little lifeline there. I'm settling in. And
Absolutely.
then another parent came and sat next to me that knew the grandmother, and we just struck up conversation.
Yeah.
And she was so lovely. I knew her a little bit, but not well. But we had a great conversation. And so the following game, stick with me.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Gotcha. Yeah.
um, it was a nice conversation, but I still thought as I'm walking into the game, who am I going to sit with? And I look up into the stands, and there's my new connection waving at me and telling me to come over. And
Wow.
I walked over, and she said, "Come sit with me. I saved a seat for you." Now,
Wow.
it's a little moment, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a big moment, but isn't it? It's about those little moments. That's a bunch of little moments in our day,
Absolutely.
and so that moment when I felt that connection of care, um, wanted,
Yeah.
um, that reach out. I call that a spark moment.
Yeah,
So
belonging there. Yeah, yeah, that sense of belonging as well. It's so powerful, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's yeah. I mean, that
yeah,
spark moment. I love that. I'm gonna start using the phrase spark moment because that is what that was.
yeah. It sparked that uh, safety
Mm-hmm.
and connection, um, trust. So a lot goes on in those moments. We don't
Oh
even
yeah.
think about it, really. We just don't. I mean, we feel it,
Oh
but we
yeah.
don't necessarily process it. So we began sitting by each other for every game, and now we're pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and the varsity parents, we just don't have a strong unification.
Mm,
Everybody's kind of like, some will sit up high in the stands, some will sit down low in the
yeah.
stands. And
Yeah.
we're not together. So I told my friend, I said, why don't it was we made it to the playoffs. Our team hasn't made it to the playoffs, and I think they made it once to the playoffs in the entire school history.
Wow.
Yeah. So we made it to the playoffs. It was a big deal, but there was nothing happening around that really big moment for our kids. So I
Hmm.
reached out to my friend. I said, why don't we make posters for the kids? And so
Oh
I
yeah.
I texted the group of parents. I said, "Hey, come an hour early." And I ran to the craft store. I bought a poster for every kid, markers, scissors,
Oh yeah.
glitter, all hot glue guns, all this stuff, and got there an hour early. And parents showed up. A lot of people showed up,
Oh yeah.
and this was all happening because of the connection I made with her. Name's Roberta, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So because of her, this was all sort of happening. My ability to reach out to the whole group and say, "Hey, let's do this," because I was feeling that lifeline was giving me a charge
Oh yeah.
to
Oh
be
yeah.
to unleash my kindness. So a bunch of people showed up. We were making posters, and someone said, "Oh, I got sticks so we could make little posters and like hold them up." Somebody said, "Let's do the numbers of each jersey
Mm.
for every player." And I
Oh
thought,
boy.
"Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Every single child will have, somebody in the stands having
Holding
something for them."
the
And
number. Yeah. Yeah.
some of them don't, some of our kiddos don't even play. They're just kind of, they stand on the sidelines, and if somebody gets hurt, they're there. But they're
Yeah.
just amazing kids that show up every single time.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah.
we made all the posters and the little stick posters. When we went to pass them out in the stands to all the parents,
Hmm.
the shock and um, the feeling, wow, you made one for me, you made one for
Yeah.
my child. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't even know who you are, and you did this.
Yeah.
It was that trickle down effect of empowering. One person empowered me. We were all empowering everyone else to
Yeah.
feel connected, community. And then when our players, our sons, saw all of the posters, something we'd never done before, all the
Yeah.
posters and little numbers, their faces, I will never forget that reaction.
I bet.
Just all of that just went their direction. And there's, the exponential factor of kindness
Yeah.
just exploding.
Absolutely. No, I was almost in tears as you were describing that. I was literally kind of tearing up in the middle of your explanation of that. I can imagine, being that parent who gets a poster with my kid's number on it, and like, who is this person, this stranger, giving me this like poster of support?
Yeah.
As a fellow parent, it's like that's a really powerful move, and it's a one that I can imagine just having that impact. I can not just on the students or the athletes, but rather the families, the entire families. Like, they're going to talk about that for a long time afterward. It has that, like you said, exponential impact,
Right.
and that's something we will be touching on here during this conversation. Is that these acts of kindness, they aren't just like one and done and that's it, right? It's sometimes these things are, and I mean, I'm just speaking from experience. My understanding and what I've lived through is that sometimes just having that, giving somebody a second, like a smile, just giving them a smile as they're passing by you, whether it's running on a trail, like they're coming the other direction, you're going by, and just smiling and just, letting them, like, just acknowledging them
Right.
in itself can be an act of kindness, especially when they may not feel like they're being acknowledged outside of that environment. Like even just that head nod of acknowledgement, and seeing them and saying, you are seen, you are
Right.
acknowledged. Sometimes that's all it is. That's all
Right.
it takes to have an impact in someone's life. And I think that's at its core, as we kind of continue this conversation. We're not talking, like I said, about these like grand sweeping gestures, but rather even something small, and even those middle range ones, like where you're creating posters, because that wasn't something that you just did like that. Like it took time and effort. But I appreciate that story, because that's something that does resonate with me, and I think it's probably resonating with others as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like an everyday act of kindness that will ripple down and has reached and touched multiple people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And Ben chimed in and says kindness is needed everywhere. We can all do our part to brighten each other, spreading smiles everywhere we go. Spot on.
Yep.
Our good friend.
Not surprised.
Not surprised that was Ben.
Yeah.
Crystal Bell. Crystal. Make sure I'm pronouncing your name. She has a really cool.
Yeah, I love
She,
that. The
yeah, she has a
font.
great kind of font there. Says you are seen is so good. Yeah, it's one of those things where I try to let people know that they are seen. It's kind of a core mantra or aspect of how I engage with people, is I do let them know that they are seen, that they are acknowledged. I do my best, as you see me on X, like I have 37,000
Yes.
followers, so
Yes.
I can't
That's
get
a
back
lot.
to everyone,
Yeah.
but I do make it a concerted effort to let them know that they are seen and appreciated. And I love this conversation. We do want to kind of move on. This is just, I mean, we're just speaking so much about this, and we're just getting
I could
started.
talk forever, so you
That's
have to
fine.
reel me in.
That's fine. That's fine. I do want to call out a few folks too that we know on X. Our good friend Amber Champagne's Brain does a fantastic job of community building. I think about like building a community through kindness, right? She does that by being kind.
Right.
Part of the way I found this group that I'm in now, this kind of really, I call it a vortex of positivity on X. One way was through, I think, connecting through a space, right, that she was in, and building kind of that network through her and through other people that were connected to her. But like, she's somebody who I think builds it through like just being positive with other people, and trying to spread that positivity during their time online, right? Because you can go one of two ways, and you can go down one way or the other, and it's easy to get sucked into that other vortex, right? It's real
Kindness
easy.
is a choice.
There you go. I love that.
There it is.
And our good friend, we have a friend, Gentle Tornado, someone you can look him up. He's also really cool. He had his account get suspended, his old one, and he has a new one now. He's doing so many positive things for children. He has a foundation that he's that he has that really is helping kids in need, and encourage people to kind of look them up. Yeah. There
wow.
you go. Yeah, wow. There's a wow.
There's my wow.
But there you go. I think that's the thing, is that like there are people out there, and I just want to offer your thoughts on how other people can build a community by being kind. Because when you say that, it's hard sometimes to put the two dots together, to connect those dots and say, I do want to be more kind, and I want to find another, I call it the vibe tribe, right? Like a tribe
Right.
that kind of shares that same sentiment. Do you have ideas or thoughts on how you can sort of find that, whether it's in real life or online? Either context is fine.
Yes. And so starting with real life, I think one of the first things that comes to mind is finding an organization to volunteer with. In a group of volunteers, you're going to be doing something kind together.
Yeah.
And the people that are attracted to volunteering are people that are wanting to be kind.
Oh yeah.
So there's an inherent interest in kindness, and a shared interest in kindness. So many organizations, your local organizations. So to find those, if those are not something on your radar, you could contact local, you could talk to city council,
Oh yeah.
city hall. They're going to know lots of groups. There are some like national groups like Rotary,
Oh yeah.
Optimists. Um, there are so many.
Yeah, I mean, you can find bulletin boards at libraries even nowadays. They
Oh
still
yeah,
have them, you know,
yeah,
they have those there. The grocery stores even still have a few of those that you can check out. Like, even in places where you may not even think that they even exist, they're out there. You're right, spot on. I mean,
yeah,
it just you have to, it's one of those things. It's an act. You said that earlier. It's an active. Being kind is active, so it requires that like proactive, that intentionality, which is a word that I use all the time because it's important to think about it, right? The kindness can be an accident, but I don't really see it that way. I see it more as like if you're being kind, it is a choice, and I think that's a valid point. But yeah, spot on. Volunteerism in real life. There's this place that's kind of not really tangent, but relevant here. Diaper Connections, what they're called, and I mentioned this in a previous episode, I think, but I've contributed to their efforts. They repackage diapers because apparently people on food stamps can't buy them because they're considered a luxury good. And so what they do is
wow,
they acquire boxes of diapers and they open them up and they repackage them in bundles that can be handed out to mothers and families in need who need them because they're because they expect people to use cloth diapers. I don't know, but it's one of those situations where like those organizations exist. You just have to look for them, right?
yeah,
It's opening your eyes to them.
yep,
But what are your thoughts about like online as well? Because I think it's the real life stuff that's important as well. But we met through X. Love to know kind of how you stay kind despite what you may be facing through the algorithms
right,
online.
yeah. Well, that's let me hit 2 points.
Yeah,
Um,
feel free.
Creating the kind community on X, it also has to be an action.
Yeah,
Um, Responding to posts that you like, that are positive. Um,
you're good
Sometimes
at
you
that, by
just,
the way.
yeah, thanks.
You're really
Sometimes you just hope that person you're responding to is going to reach out to you,
yeah.
but sometimes that doesn't happen. So sometimes you have to be the one to hit follow.
That's right.
And even then, sometimes it doesn't, people are busy. People don't always check to see, especially if you're a large account. I don't have a problem with that, but I can check and see.
Yeah,
But when you get up into 30,000, I can't, or like a million, when it gets big, it's like,
it's
whoa,
unreal.
it's hard to manage. So
Yeah.
I think not taking things like that personally,
Mm-hmm.
maybe if they're open to DMs,
Yeah.
um, just reach out and say, wow, you really touched me. That post you put up was really
Yeah.
meaningful. Thank you. I'd love to connect with you. I'd love for you to follow me so we can stay connected. I want to see your
Oh
I
yeah.
want to see your posts in my feed.
Yeah.
So going that far to create that community and uh, getting on spaces. Um, I've met people on spaces um, for deeper connection, even if you're already followers.
Oh yeah.
Um, if you see something again, you like it, let them know. If there's something, I have someone who was feeling not so great a few weeks ago
Mm-hmm.
and expressed it on X. So I
Yeah.
DM'd that person and I said, I am thinking about you.
Mm-hmm.
And, I see you, I
Yeah.
hear
Yeah.
you. And I'm sending hugs and that really touched that person.
Yeah.
And so it's like a different connection. The next time she sees me post something, I know there's a little more meaning behind when she sees me. And when
Right.
I see her, I just feel a deeper, even just one DM. It's like a little bit of a deeper level.
Yeah.
So not being afraid to reach out.
I love that.
And
I love
I
that.
know there are a lot of introverts on X. I am actually pretty introverted. You can't tell because I like to talk a lot, but I am pretty introverted.
Yeah.
I've just been forced to be in front of people for so long, all my life, really. It's I still get nervous when I have to be in front of people, but I just make myself do it. So baby steps.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. I love that's kind of a pro tip or a little they call that alpha nowadays on social media. The extra bonus. You're giving us some stuff to that really will be seen and heard by other people that maybe they'll start using what you just said. Like that's actually like that's like the golden nugget of wisdom that you just gave, which was don't be afraid to let people know they are seen, they are heard through DMs, right? Some people are afraid to do that. Again, like you said, introverted, especially, don't really feel like you want to be the one to make the outreach, but sometimes that is actually the way to build that deeper connection is to let them know that they are seen, that they are that you did catch that you did catch what they posted, and you want them to know that they aren't alone. Like even just that extra sentiment, like you said, next time around, you see them on the timeline and you comment, they're like, wait a minute, like I need to give a little more focus to this person because they actually they do genuinely care. They've expressed it, right? And it makes those conversations more meaningful and the interactions more meaningful when you see that and when you've had that extra kind of layer of I think it's almost like a trust building
Yeah.
kind of in a sense, right? Because you've established the fact that there is not this ulterior motive, but rather a sense of care and DMs can be kind of controversial, but I encourage folks if they see something like that where somebody does seem to be in a place of need and you are genuinely concerned for them to feel free to reach out and not really let your fear of the repercussion be what stops you because at the end of the day you are going to build that deeper I think more genuine connection with them.
And X is a great place to test that out for IRL.
There you
For
go.
when you're on here, you've got that barrier. It's not like you're standing right in front of the person asking them to go to prom or whatever. So it's a great place to um, hone in on your social skills.
Absolutely. And our good friend Stephanie here says she's an ambivert. Yeah, I think that's kind of where I fit. There's this uh, ability to do both. Like it depends, right? When it comes to like
Right.
being able to kind of step forward into that that level of trust and desire to kind of reach out, like having that ability to do that just depends on the context. So I'm in the same boat, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, spot on. This is wonderful so far. I do want to jump ahead. I know we've talked a lot about just the first couple things, and I want to kind of get to a few more. I would love to kind of see. This is kind of like I think maybe our third, like a third segment here, kind of about like practicing kindness in a sense, and kind of get to I think the heart really of what we want to talk about. I'm thinking more like actionable, practical steps that people can start to incorporate into their daily lives. We've talked about creating a mantra, some sort of phrase, or an easy to define way to describe kindness, and to kind of maybe think about that, right? The golden rule being one of them. What are some simple and maybe easy to implement ways that you can think of to cultivate kindness as a habit?
Well, being a former teacher, I have steps.
Oh yeah. There's a step-by-step process here. I'm sure of it.
So I like practical strategies. I like things that are um, quick because we're all so busy in our lives.
Oh yeah.
But having said that, I think when you're trying to implement a change like this that's so important in your everyday life, um, the foundation steps that you want to lay to set up for success, you want to spend your most time there, a lot of time there, preparing for the change, to make sure it sticks, to make sure it's meaningful. It's not just, oh, that was a great podcast about kindness. I'm going to be more kind.
Yeah.
Well,
Doesn't really work that way, does it?
no, it doesn't. I wish, just, tap me on the head and what is it? The
Sticks.
Matrix, the
Yeah.
download. Yeah, that's not yet, Neuralink, not yet.
Not yet. Maybe in the future, though.
Yeah. So I think it's important to set a foundation thoughtfully. And of course, that brain limb to pin is going to come into play here.
Mm-hmm.
So writing down, I love, everyone knows what a who, what, when, where, why, how, like when we're making an invitation to our party, those are the parts we need: the who, what, when, where,
Absolutely.
why, how. Same thing here. You're welcome to the kindness party. You want to set yourself up to for success. So uh, this podcast is recorded. People will be able to come back to it.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of information, and this one I want you to especially pay attention to and come back to later,
Yeah.
so that you can rehear what steps to take to implement kindness on a foundational level. So,
For
number
sure.
one, we've already done this, but what is kindness? The what? What is kindness? Define it. Define it for yourself. What
Mm-hmm.
does it mean to you at this time in your life? Write
Love
it
that.
down. Number two, the why. Why do you want to be kind? I know that sounds silly, but really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why
I don't
do
know if
I
people actually
desire
think about
this?
that. People actually
Yeah.
reflect on that. I don't know if that's something that I've taken the intentional time to focus on the why. That's a great one.
Yeah, because we hear you should. This is how you should be, right? But why? Why do we need to be this way? What
Mm-hmm.
are the benefits to yourself and others?
Oh, yeah.
I wrote my example. I wrote, because positive feelings and outcomes are attached to receiving and giving kindness. Positive feelings and outcomes. I want positive feelings and outcomes.
Yes.
On a more meaningful level, I also wrote, because our humanity will last long after we are gone. Who knows how long? The only thing that remains after we're gone is our humanity. That's
Love
it.
that. I love that. Yeah.
Nothing else. So why? Well, what I put out in the world, again, with this ripple effect, with this exponential energy behind kindness, that's going to go on, can go on long after I'm gone. So the why is number two. Number three, how am I going to show kindness to myself and others? So the how in the equation, I suggest making a list of actions, sentences or action statements.
Mm-hmm.
I would do 2 columns, one for self and one for others. How am I going to be kind to myself? How am I going to be kind to others?
Yes.
And maybe even look at the 2 columns, and is there any overlap? How, might be interesting to look at that. Yes. Woo. I
All
see
that
there.
is left is our humanity.
That's
Yeah,
it.
you see
Yeah.
that. It's valid.
So, step 4, who will you be kind to? Who will you be kind to? Now, this this could be baby steps, and I recommend starting with baby steps. Pick 1 or 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going to be kind to first?
Yeah.
Right? Focus. Who am I going to focus on first?
Yes.
And then eventually, maybe your list will. You'll get to the point where it's like, oh gosh, I'm going to just focus on everyone in these different ways. Right?
Yeah.
And number 5, when will you be kind? When is this? What does this look like? Does this look like now? Oh, I added a 6th one in too. I'll get there.
Right there. Yeah.
Are you going to start this today, tomorrow? When is this starting?
Yeah, the timeline.
And then when within your day? Like, I can't do this all day long. I got to start smaller. The person I picked, it's that guy at work that really rubs me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And for an hour at lunch, I'm going to sit there and just ask him about his life.
Yeah.
Setting really specific goals uh, to make sure that the actions are going to happen. And then sixth, I would write out what kindness is not. What
Mm,
kindness is not. And some examples that I would put on my list.
it's a great question here, by the
Yeah,
way.
because it seems obvious at first, right?
Yeah.
But then when you think about reactions to when you might have intended to be kind in the
Hmm.
past, it gets a little murky.
Sure. Yeah.
So, when I put on my list, unsolicited advice. We all, as a teacher, that is so hard to, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
struggle with that so hard.
Same here in real life
Ugh,
for sure,
yeah,
especially.
that you
Like,
should do this. I'm so excited to help,
yeah.
but is that what that person needs? Is that what they've requested? Do they
So,
just need me to hold space while they're upset? Do they just need me to actively listen? What is it they really need? Because maybe unsolicited advice isn't so kind.
mm, yeah.
Um, Nosiness, bossiness, things that we're all guilty of it. It
Yeah.
happens. So
Yeah.
I think defining the difference is really important to
It's true.
remind.
It's true. Yeah, what kindness is not. It's something mind blowing because it's something sometimes people don't realize that you need to ask that question. And I wanted to kind of jump in real quick before we move on to number six. Is that number six? Is
Oh,
that
that was
five or
number
six?
six.
That was
That
six.
was
Okay,
it.
good. That's a great one. I was gonna say that it kind of also ties into the thought of like we talked earlier about how kindness is not weakness, right? And that's something that we need to remember as well, is
Yes.
that being kind is not a sign of a lack of strength or a lack of, it's not even related to that in my mind. It's more of a, um, there's that active piece of it. Sometimes being kind is stepping away, like you said, not giving that unsolicited advice. The I call it, there's this phrase, the acronym JOMO, the joy of missing out, and instead of the fear of missing out, sometimes you need to
Mhm.
step away
Right.
and not engage, and also that's being kind, right?
Right.
There's this sometimes on social media, especially this like pile on effect where you feel like you have to jump in and you have to kind of add something extra, and it's like, you know what, like I might step away from this situation and actually be show kindness that way, demonstrate it that way. Sometimes it's better to kind of leave things alone and not engage. And I think that's a struggle that I have to deal with. I know for a
Yes.
fact on a regular basis, but something that I wanted to highlight as we talk about this.
Yeah, and that's actually your question earlier. That was the second part of it. So I'm glad you circled back to it because you had asked how to manage the tough
Yeah,
stuff on X, and I
yeah,
think that's great advice. Is stepping back and
yeah,
taking a breath and trying to think before we post. I'm guilty. I've had
yeah,
posts that I put up and then I think about it and I think, oh my gosh, I shouldn't, that's just not okay. And I've taken them down.
yeah.
So, responses to people, it's really easy to jump on a bandwagon or like politics. Ooh,
Another one, another one.
that's a
Yeah,
tough one where I have to really pump the brakes.
I know. It's easy to
Uh,
jump into that one though. Easy to jump in the fray. Let me tell you.
yeah, yeah, and I think that leads to we're not aiming for perfection.
No,
Kindness is uh, I like an 80-20. That's my aim.
I like that.
Shooting for an 80-20,
I like
not
that.
shooting for 100. Um, so being gentle when we make those mistakes is really important. And if need be, tail between the legs and apologizing when we do cross boundaries
Like that.
into the unkind zone. Because part of being kind is saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's some sort. I'll say that's a form of a lost art in many ways. I'm not gonna go any further than saying that, but I think that being willing to apologize and say I'm sorry is actually, again, that sometimes is the kindest thing you can do in a given situation. And I love that you said that as a way to, I think, to sum up what we talked about. We have I have three other sections we have to get to in the next
Oh my
five
gosh.
minutes, so we're flying by. Time is flying. It's okay. What I do want to do though before we wrap is I do want to offer we go to section 5 here that I have on my list here. Let's say someone's experiencing a situation where they're just getting pummeled with negativity and not experiencing kindness, like in terms of like receiving it on a day-to-day basis, and they're feeling kind of distraught about that. How would you address someone who says, I don't understand how kindness even works. I don't see it anywhere in my life. Like,
Yeah.
how would you go about, like, what advice would you give that person?
I hear you, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
I see it. I understand it. And the world we live in right now, there's a lot of animosity. There's a lot of contention on a national level, international level. We've got so many things going on. Uh, Democrats versus Republicans, inflation. Um, there's just so much,
Oh yeah.
and then the international angst,
Mm.
um,
Oh
and
yeah.
that all trickles down, right? So our communities, we become stressed, we have anxiety,
For
and then
sure.
we start to act out. So it makes sense that it's out there. Um, just I think an important thing to remember is that those people that you cannot find kindness in, every one of them is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. So if you can approach people with that mentality, knowing, gosh, I'm hurting about things, so is everybody else in the world. Everyone has battles that we're fighting. There's a softening there,
Oh yeah.
in yourself when you approach life that way, not
Oh yeah.
not from a judgment standpoint, and um, seeking to understand versus judging. I mean, you heard me a few minutes ago with my moment of feeling like a little girl in the gym
Oh
trying to
yeah.
find a friend, or like at the lunch table, all the seats are taken. So we can't help it. Sometimes we're there.
That's it.
We're catapulted into I can't. So trying to be kind to yourself in those moments. It's okay.
Oh yeah.
Um, if you don't feel anyone's kindness, be the person to take care of yourself. Give yourself a lot of love. Um, and then seek out places you know you will find kindness. As we said, volunteer opportunities. You're going to feel it there so
Oh
big.
yeah.
Um, for me personally, church is a big one for me. I
Mm-hmm.
know the church I go to, I walk in, I'm like, thank God I'm here, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like a blanket. Like,
Yeah.
we got you. Um, so it's out there, even if we're not seeing it on the streets. Everybody's honking, flipping each other off,
Yeah.
you know. Oh,
Oh yeah.
so actively taking care of ourselves, seeking places we know, um, that will find kindness, taking responsibility for how we're feeling, because maybe there's something underlying that's keeping you from kindness, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, are you feeling angry? Are you feeling sad or vulnerable, right? Because we tend to shut off the ability to be kind and see kind when
Oh
we're
yeah.
in our ugly places. So, that's something to think about, looking into your own feelings. Um, and if you're feeling discouraged, come online, find us, gain tools,
That's
you
right.
know, uh, look at things we're posting about kindness and um, connecting, and
Absolutely.
uh, reach out. I have on my site no DMs because I've gotten some unpleasant DMs, but
Mm-hmm.
y'all can DM me.
There you go. You hear that? At Acorns 2 Oaks 1 on
Yeah.
X. Reach out to Steph if you need help,
Yeah.
or if you need a little extra boost.
Yeah.
Steph, you've been a wonderful guest today. We should do a
Thank you,
part two of
Chris.
this, because we could go on for hours. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
And
I got
I
a
know
lot
we're,
more.
no, for sure. And I know we both have tons of things we wanted to get to that we could not tonight. but we can always again have a part two in the future if you're open to that. I'd love to have you on again to
Absolutely.
talk about this because this has been really really wonderful stuff. You've been a fantastic guest, and the I think the based on the comments that I'm seeing, all the as I've shared on the screen here from our friends, it's resonating with them too, and
My heart.
yeah, there you go. And we again, I want to have you back here sometime in the future if you're open to it because it's again, this is a conversation that I don't want to end, but unfortunately we do have to, and I do want to be
Yeah.
respectful of your time. Before we close, though, I will say this. I want to offer a message about the significance of kindness, and then I'll let you have the final word. We did talk about resources. Some of the stuff that you said already is fantastic. So I just want to be able to let people know that, in fact, kindness is not weakness. It's also an act. It's a habit. It's something that um, you can bring it into your life by being kind yourself, and sometimes that means um, putting the phone down and stepping away for a weekend. Sometimes it means giving some more time to yourself. I think the self-care and the self-reflection is a form of kindness, and we should not feel guilty for the pursuit of self-care. I want to just highlight that as we get close to wrapping here, that self-care is not selfish, and in fact it can be the kindest thing that you can do for yourself. um, Hopefully
And
that
for
makes sense.
others. Yeah.
And for others, in fact, because then you're able
Yeah.
to present, you can show up in the world in a better way, and in a way that's more of you and more true to who you are. And that's how I feel about that. And kindness, again, the impact, being there and being kind to yourself it'll have those lingering impacts, the long-standing, long-range impact. And it's not just it'll last just for a day, but in fact, doing that and making that a habit will, in fact, change your life. So, and
Yeah.
Steph, I wanted you to kind of, with that, I'll let you give a final word to our listeners, and then we'll wrap for the evening.
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's so much more I want to talk about,
Oh,
and
me
you
too.
just made me think of something so good. Yeah, and I think I'll end with that. So, the just even one sentence can change someone's life, right? So I was adopted at birth, and growing up, I always felt uncomfortable. When I told people I'm adopted, it was like when I was young, it was like, oh, why? Why didn't your parents want you? Just it wasn't something I was proud of. And then at some point, I think I was watching TV, and there was an ad for adoption. And the person on TV said, adopted children are extra loved because they're so wanted. And it was like, what? Oh my gosh, I never had thought about it from that light.
Yeah.
And right there and then that changed everything. One
Yeah.
sentence on an ad.
Yeah, I mean
So,
it causes some tears to well up as well here hearing that, because that's that perspective, that angle
yeah,
changes it, right? Changes the game
yeah,
entirely.
yeah. Wounds healed, new confidence and empowerment in one sentence that affects the rest of my life. Just huge.
Yeah, so
Um,
powerful.
and affects others, because what affects me affects the people around me too. Um, be the change you want to see, be the transformative power, and ignite that light of kindness.
That's, I see what you did there, Steph. I appreciate that too. I do. I want to share our friend Crystal. She also says thank you for the kindness boost. Again, clearly you yeah, and here our Stephanie says heard the same sentence and it changed me. So I
Ah!
think this is a very very powerful thing what you just said, and you're if I know Stephanie the way I think I know her, this is hitting all of us in the feels right now. So
Yeah. Oh,
want
she
to
is my
say
spirit animal. Stephanie knows that. Like,
there you go.
there's just some cosmic connection there. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, we're all kind of in that really cool cosmic connection group, I feel like. And again, that's how we found you and how I found, how we connected. And super grateful to have this conversation with you, Steph. Again, you've been a wonderful guest. And again, like I said, I'm super thrilled to have this out into the world and let people hear what we've talked about, and to hopefully have them ignite that light of kindness, as you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, our humanity never dies. This podcast is going to live maybe beyond us, and
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, God willing, that's what's going to happen. I
That's
appreciate
we're putting it out there in the universe.
we're manifesting it, right?
Right.
So, yeah, thank you, Steph, for your time
Thank you,
tonight.
Chris. You're
And I'll
such a
have you
great
again.
host.
Thank you so much. And we'll have you again here sometime in the future so we can talk more about the impact of acts of kindness or maybe something else,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever your heart desires. And with that, we're going to say thank you, everyone, for listening, for watching. Everyone, this is Positively Chris signing
Chris, can
off
I
for.
really quick? Sorry,
Go for it.
there are some things in here I didn't get to hit on that
Yes.
I will sometime this week. I'm going to create a post and
Yes.
just put up some of these contacts I have here that I didn't mention. Are really wonderful resources. So if you are struggling with finding connection in real life, and you want to find ways to start kindness in your community, I will put up some resources for you, or you can DM me. I'm happy to send them to you. So.
There you go. There you go. That's really wonderful, Steph. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, and we'll repost those as well. If you put them out there, I will make sure that people get the links, the resources that they need. That's yeah, hopefully this will live much longer than me, at least. The resources will continue on, and hopefully people will find value in what we've said, and all of the resources that you put out there. Again, I'm super grateful for that. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to offer that, but I'm truly, truly grateful for that. Steph, thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do what I can. Small
Absolutely.
acts.
Small acts. There you go. That's all you need. Just start small, right? And with that, hopefully everyone here will continue to ignite that light. We'll see you next month, and we're signing off for the night. Thanks, everyone.
Yay! Are we off yet?